Good morning.
Good morning, Captain.
How's everyone doing this morning?
The mule's got food.
Rain for rain.
Rain for rain, yes indeed.
Yes.
Anyone have anything to share?
It's so hot.
Here we go.
I don't even want to prompt you for the rest of that.
It's so hot. I looked in the pantry the other day and the garlic was taking its clothes off.
Don't, boys.
I'm setting the stage for you because you can surely approve on that.
Oh, there's no doubt about that. Boy, anyone have anything of substance to share? All right, before we get started, however, I can say we will either finish today or next week, and I suspect it will be today. And we got nothing after this. So, what do you all want to do?
Judges.
We actually did Judges. It was about 4 years ago.
Well, I wasn't here then.
Well, that seems like your problem.
You said you like Romans.
I love Romans.
I like Romans too. I love the Romans.
Romans.
First book, Proverbs.
What would you like?
Other options? I don't know. We could go through the Apocrypha.
Oh, well, that would be interesting.
That would take quite a while.
Yeah,
It'd take a lot less time than the pseudepigrapha, though. What's that? We did Revelations and Daniel. However, that was during COVID. It's all online.
James is always interesting.
James is always interesting, yeah. Ephesians.
Yeah, Galatians is good.
Galatians,
Well, that's probably not a bad book.
yeah, well, the epistles are always good. Yeah, James is kind of would be the antithesis for of covering Romans and Galatians and Ephesians. What's that? I mean, there's numbers gets a bad rap. There's a lot that is trolling, but there's some good stuff in there too. I think Numbers is more interesting and easily to digest than Leviticus. Lamentations also a really tough one.
Proverbs is good.
Proverbs, that would be interesting.
Ezekiel.
Why?
He saw the will.
Ezekiel. Okay. John had mentioned, we could do stuff like on prophecies fulfilled or different characters like, Abraham or Moses, go through stuff like that. That would be a different take, but those are possibilities. All right, so I heard Romans, James, Ephesians, Galatians, Proverbs, and Ezekiel. Take my pick. I mean, there's great stuff in all of those. Ezekiel certainly would be harkening back, and that would be, if you're looking at differences, Ezekiel would probably be the most different than what we've been doing right now. Proverbs would be interesting because it's disjunctive. You have it's kind of going to jump in different areas, and it's going to be repetitious in some, but not in others. So that would be more of a challenge. James is going to be very. James can be tough, but there's great stuff in James too. Faith without works is dead. I mean, you got a lot of great stuff in there. And of course, when you get to the epistles, the Pauline epistles, you can never go wrong with those.
Up to you.
No. Okay, we're trying to narrow it down.
What's our choices?
Okay. Romans, James, Ephesians, Galatians, Proverbs, Ezekiel, and Philippians.
Proverbs.
Okay, how many for Romans?
I like that.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. James. Ephesians. Ephesians. Galatians. Proverbs. Ezekiel. Philippians. All right, that's 7 for Romans, 2 for Proverbs, and 1 for Ezekiel. Looks like we'll be doing Romans. All right. Very good. Now, let's see if we'll get to that next week or the week after. All right, let's go ahead and start. Lord, we thank you for the day. We thank you for the opportunity to be here and cover the books that we have so far and look forward to the one that we will start. And Lord, just send your Spirit with us in the things that we discuss so that we can see your grace, your glory, and the Savior Jesus through all of it. In his name. We are at Acts 27:13. 27:13. So where are we now? What's going on?
Paul's being shipped around.
Paul's being shipped around. He is on the boat. He's heading to Rome. It's going to take him a bit to get there, and he's going to encounter some more ordeals. Of course. It's the way it goes. All right.
Now when the south wind blew gently, supposing that they had obtained their purpose, they weighed anchored and sailed along Crete, close to the shore. But soon a tempestuous wind called the northeastern struck down from the land. And when the ship was caught and could not face the wind, we gave way to it and were driven along. Running under the lee of a small island called Calda, we managed with difficulty to secure the ship's boat. After hoisting it up, they urged supports to undergird the ship. Then, fearing that they would run aground on Syrtis, they lowered the gear, and thus they were driven along. Since we were violently storm-tossed, they began the next day to jettison the cargo. And on the third day, they threw over the ship's tackle overboard with their own hands. When neither sun nor stars appeared for many days, and no small tempest lay on us, all hope of our being saved was at last abandoned. We'll pause there.
Anything you all see there? All right, so let's kind of get a view of what's going on here. I know it's a little pixelated, but...
So this just kind of shows some of the journey from when he was in Jerusalem, over to Sidon, went over here. So right now, this is Malta right here. So we're kind of in the middle over here right now. But you can see the kind of hugging the coast through all of it. But it was along here, that certainly wasn't a straight line. It was kind of all over the place. But we'll finally get up there, but we're not certainly there yet.
So many storms, why they kept setting out.
What do you mean?
Well, I mean, why wouldn't they just stay where they were until the storms passed?
Well, because they get paid to get people and cargo from one place to the other.
Plus, they didn't have anybody forecasting the storm. They didn't.
Well, yeah, they didn't really get a weather report, except for if you see the clouds and you know something's upon you. Anything else from this section? What's that?
That's a rough stretch of sea.
Yeah.
We crossed it with no storm, 17 foot away.
17 foot? That has some drowning me with you.
It was going over the top of the ship.
When I was on a pastor's conference on a cruise ship years ago, And one of the meeting rooms was at the front of the ship, and we encountered someone, yeah, you see the water disappear, and then it reappears way above you.
Yeah. I can imagine what it's like in these smaller boats.
Yeah.
Because these boats probably weren't 50 foot long, maybe.
Oh, no. Yeah, it wouldn't have been that big.
Yeah. No motors.
But I mean, they were at least a good size to hold over 200, almost 250 people. So I mean, you can't imagine that it smelled very good. Because a bunch of people and tight spaces.
Fleas and lice and everything else.
Well, and vomiting if they didn't have, I mean.
Oh, there's that too.
That'd be fear.
Yeah. All right.
21. Since they had been without food for a long time, Paul stood up among them and said, "Men, you should have listened to me." Told you so. Should have listened to me and not have to set sail from Crete and incurred this injury and loss. Yet now I urge you to take heart, for there will be no loss of life among you, but only of the ship. For this very night there stood before me an angel of the God to whom I belong and whom I worship. And he said, "Do not be afraid, Paul. You must stand before Caesar. And behold, God was granting you all those who sail with you. So take heart, men, for I have faith in God that will be exactly as I have been told. But we must run aground on some island."
All right. Anything there? Here again is another example of Paul was shared by the Spirit again and again that he has to be in Rome. That it wasn't an option. That was his future there. I can imagine Paul was could be a very annoying individual. Just in the way that he addressed me, you should have listened to me. And if you're the captain of this ship and stuff, like, yeah, you should have listened to me. And now you don't. Now you got now run your ship. Just listen to me now. Go run the ship on ground. What? Why would I listen to you, scrawny little guy?
Yes, you're not a
But
sailor.
they did.
You're not. Yeah, exactly. You're not a sailor. This is not your life. This is not your livelihood. Why would you listen to him?
Has this storm been going on for 14 days or 14?
That's certainly what it implies. I don't know that we're told that explicitly, though.
Or have they?
For some time, though.
Yeah. Well, it says in 27.
For a long time. At 27? Yeah, okay. For 14th night, okay. Okay.
So that. When the 14th night had come, as we were being driven across the Adriatic Sea, about midnight the sailors suspected that they were nearing land. So they took a sounding and found 20 fathoms. A little further on, they took a sounding again and found 15 fathoms. They let down 4 anchors from the stern and prayed for day to come. And as the sailors were seeking to escape from the ship and had lowered the ship's boats into the sea under pretense of laying out anchors from the bow, Paul said to the centurion and the soldiers, "Unless these men stay in the ship, you cannot be saved." The soldiers cut away the ropes of the ship's boat and let it go.
Again, ingratiating himself to the sailors. They were going to abandon the ship. They were just going to let all of these prisoners and all these centurion and everyone, let them go down with the ship. We don't want to. Nothing?
Well, it said for them to eat, and I thought they were already out of.
I'm sorry, say again?
Because in 21 it says after the men had gone a long time without food.
It's not like they didn't have any food, but they were rationing their food because they didn't know how long they were going to be out there. Because we'll see in a little bit that Paul urges them to eat. So it's not like there wasn't any food, but they were saving it.
As day was about to dawn, Paul urged them all to take some food, saying, "Today is the 14th day that you have continued in suspense and without food, having taken nothing. Therefore I urge you to take some food, for it will give you strength. For not a hair is to perish from the head of any of you." And when he had said these things, he took bread and gave thanks to God in the presence of all. He broke it and began to eat. Then they were all encouraged and ate some food themselves. We were all 276. Now, some translations have that number a little bit different, but it's a significant number. 276 persons in the ship. When they had eaten enough, they lightened the ship, throwing out the wheat into the sea.
So that was a good-sized ship, because if they had cargo plus
all of those passengers, yeah. So it definitely is a decent-sized vessel. All the more reason why, why would we listen to you?
Right.
And I mean, you can imagine, the one who's sailing the ship isn't going to be the owner of the ship, but he's going to have to answer for the ship.
Right.
It would be no small thing to say, hey, let's run aground or even toss all this overboard. I can't imagine that he'd have much of a job if he's known as one who lets everyone's cargo go over.
Well, his next job could be a prison guard.
Yeah, it could be a prison guard. Yeah, where it's, hey, if you let your prisoner escape, it means you're dead. I'm not sure that's a better retirement plan.
When it was day, they did not recognize the land, but they noticed a bay with a beach, on which they planned, if possible, to run the ship ashore. So they cast off the anchors and let them in the sea, at the same time loosening the ropes that had tied the rudders. Then hoisting the foresail into the wind, they made for the beach. But striking a reef, they ran the vessel aground. The bow struck and remained immovable, and the stern was being broken up by the surf. The soldiers' plan was to kill the prisoners, lest any should swim away and escape. But the centurion, wishing to save Paul, kept them from carrying out that plan. He ordered those who could swim to jump overboard first and make for the land, and the rest on planks or on pieces of the ship. And so it was that all were brought safely to land.
This says a lot about Paul standing with the centurion. He may not have been liked by the sailors, but he certainly found favor again and again. I mean, this isn't the first one with the Roman, those who were in charge of guarding him.
So what's this ship? Yeah, they're talking about all the stuff that was on it and the sails, so it is not a small ship.
Right, yeah, it's a good-sized ship. Big sails, big masts. They had over 4 anchors.
Yeah.
So it's a pretty good size.
So it had prisoners, so was it fueled by the prisoners?
I doubt we're not told that like the kind where they're under, chained and rowing. I don't think it was of that sort. Because this was a regular commercial vessel, okay? Because the way that they would do it is you'd have a commercial vessel, and if the centurion and these prisoners needed to get them, they pretty much commandeer certain parts to be able to get one. So it's not like, well, this is a ship that has rows, and I have prisoners to be able to. It would have been just a regular vessel. It wouldn't have been made for prisoners and rowing.
So it's much fancier than what we would see as a fishing boat that was taken.
It was certainly much bigger. Yeah, it was not a fishing vessel. It was definitely built for long cargo holds.
So then how do you imagine in verse 17 when it says they passed ropes under the ship itself to hold it together?
Verse 17?
17, where it says they passed ropes under the ship itself to hold it together.
Well, that would be a very big undertaking, but basically one person taking it, swimming under with a rope and pulling the other side. I mean, there's nothing about being a sailor, even now, that is a safe, easy gig. Right? And they had to tie, you saw they tied the rudder, so it's not flipping all over and tearing itself apart. Because a big storm, you can tell, I mean, if that rudder's going on one side and crashing, it's going to tear itself apart. It's going to just splinter.
I just can't imagine doing that, swimming under that ship in a storm.
I suppose maybe they could throw it over the front and then drag it
Probably
under.
threw it over the bow and then let it go back until they pulled it up.
But whatever the case, it wouldn't have been easy to get it back up. So, maybe they could, throw it over the bow and from both sides and pull it. I don't know, but whatever the case, it was a strong enough storm that it threatened the integrity of the ship.
One of these commentaries said that wasn't really as unusually large as we think of it. I think he said Josephus talks about a ship for 600 people.
Wow. That's a good sized ship.
That would be big.
My footnote says other ancient accounts of travel by ship show that such a large number of prisoners on a grain ship was entirely possible. So that evidently.
Well, it's about, if you don't have as much cargo and you have more room for people too, but.
Yeah, I didn't think they had boats that big.
It is pretty amazing, what they were able to build with the tools that they had. But, they've had them a long time before this.
Not much of a cruise, but like.
Yeah, not a pleasure cruise. More like a Gilligan's Island cruise, I think, yeah.
Sneak off on the lifeboat. No, we're gonna go cut anchors down.
Yeah, so it was obviously it's big enough that it has several small boats on it as well. All right. 39.
Now, when it was a day, they did not recognize the land. They noticed a bay with a beach on which they planned, if possible, to run the ship. Did I already read that? Okay, so 28, or are we at 28? Okay. There you go. Afterwards, we were brought safely through. We then learned that the island was called Malta. Okay, so that's there. So they've been going all over here. Now they're finally here. Yeah. The native people showed us unusual kindness, for they kindled a fire and welcomed us all, because it had begun to rain and was cold. Excuse me. When Paul had gathered a bundle of sticks and put them on the fire, a viper came out because of the heat and fastened on his hand. When the native people saw the creature hanging on his hand, they said to one another, "No doubt this man is a murderer. Though he has escaped from the sea, justice has not allowed him to live." He, however, shook off the creature into the fire and suffered no harm. They were waiting for him to swell up or suddenly fall down dead. But when they had waited a long time and saw no misfortune come to him, they changed their minds and said that he was a god. Now, in the neighborhood of that place were lands belonging to the chief man of the island, named Publius, who received us and entertained us hospitably for 3 days. It happened that the father of Publius lay sick with fever and dysentery. Paul visited him and prayed, and putting his hands on him, healed him. And when this had taken place, the rest of the people on the island who had diseases also came and were cured. They also honored us greatly. And when we were about to sail, they put on board everything that we needed.
So the ship was okay?
Yeah, that's what gets me. That the last line, they put it on board. So
It tells us coming up.
yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's when I first read that, I was just like, was it a different ship or something? But hold on. What else about that? God's being made known through miracles here too.
They radioed the home base and they sent a rescue ship.
Yeah, they just got him on the radio.
So after he healed everyone, that only made him even more like a god.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So,
And knowing the way that Paul operates, he's not going to take that and say, yeah, that's me. Yeah. All right.
After 3 months, we set sail in a ship that had wintered in the island. Aha! A ship of Alexandria with the twin gods as a figurehead. So, there it tells us. It wasn't the same ship. Putting in at Syracuse, we stayed there for 3 days. And from there we made a circuit and arrived at Rhegium. And after 1 day a south wind sprang up, and on the second day we came to Puteoli. Sure. And we found brothers and were invited to stay with them for 7 days. And so we came to Rome. And the brothers there, when they heard about us, came as far as the Forum of Appius and the 3 taverns to meet us. On seeing them, Paul thanked God and took courage. And when we came into Rome, Paul was allowed to stay by himself with the soldier who guarded him. All right.
Thing there? He has developed a lot of trust. Yeah, I mean, the fact that he could stay by himself with the soldier, I mean, that's pretty significant. But again, I mean, he is a Roman citizen, you know, so that shouldn't be too surprising. And all of those who are out for his death are way back in Jerusalem, for the most part, and Asia. So he's a little removed from some of the things that are causing controversy.
Do we have any idea how far these brothers came to the Forum of Apollo or whatever in the 3 taverns?
I don't think that's even...
Or
Okay, well, there's, how'd you say that?
I don't know.
Tioli, whatever.
Puteoli.
So, I mean, I don't know how far that is, but I don't want to walk it.
Scale on the left.
Yeah, there's 500 miles right there, so that's probably 300.
Probably close to 400 or 500 from Malta all the way to Rome.
Yeah.
It said it's about 43 miles from Rome.
What?
Well, where is?
The Forum of...
Oh, okay, yeah, because that's not on here. Well, if that's the case, it's probably about, like, you know,
Yeah, so it'd be
somewhere around here.
But still,
And they're walking, so
a
it's
day or
gonna
2
take
trip.
Yeah.
Yeah, a couple days.
a while.
well, that was nice that, you know, everywhere he went, there were brothers.
Yeah, and you know, that is one of the, what, it kind of gets lost in the aspect, you know, that the judgment from the exile, and that just a remnant return. But the benefit of that is that you had the Jews during the diaspora, that they were scattered all over the place. So that was the benefit of that, and the benefit of Hellenization, a kind of more homogeneous culture all around to be able to spread. I mean, so it was a whole lot easier for the gospel to spread under these circumstances, because there were brothers, there were people that were already around in this known area, and they had the same language, same culture, they had the same understanding. So it really did allow for things to thrive. So you see in kind of key moments in history how God used the events of the day. You know, so he used, even though the exile and the diaspora was a judgment, God also used it for good, right? Even though the Reformation, there was some bad reasons for it. You know, you had the printing press and other things where God used it for good, to be able to expand on it. So in all those cases where there is bad, God can use for good. And indeed, Romans tells us that. but we'll have to wait until we get to Romans.
It'd be interesting to know how the brothers got word that he was going to arrive.
Yeah.
He did.
Because how did they know? Because did they go by land and they must have gotten there faster, or did they take a different ship and a different route? Or?
How did the word get to them? Was it by the Spirit that they
Oh, that's it. You know, you would think that would occur to me. It didn't even occur to me.
According to this map, that little town that you pointed out, Peturia, 3 rivers and the Forum are between Rome and there, so maybe they just word of mouth from right there.
Yeah, but I bet as far as just Rome, just Paul being there in the first place.
But they stopped at that Peturia.
All right, 17.
After 3 days he called together the local leaders of the Jews, and when they had gathered, he said to them, "Brothers, though I had done nothing against your people or the customs of our fathers, yet I was delivered as a prisoner from Jerusalem into the hands of the Romans. When they had examined me, they wished to set me at liberty, because there was no reason for the death penalty in my case. But because the Jews objected, I was compelled to appeal to Caesar, though I had no charge to bring against my nation. For this reason, therefore, I have asked to see you and speak with you, since it is because of the hope of Israel that I am wearing this chain." They said to him, "We have received no letters from Judea about you, and none of the brothers coming here has reported or spoken any evil about you. But we desire to hear from you what your views are. For with regard to this sect, we know that everywhere it is spoken against."
This is interesting. You would think that if the word got to the believers that word about him being, this terrible person, that would have preceded him. And maybe it's just that word's coming, but it isn't there yet. But whatever the case, his reputation to the Jews about being an enemy of them, that had not preceded him. And it allows him to what? It allows him to, again, preach the gospel. We desire to hear from you.
Yeah, it has a note here that says, the Jews in Rome were well aware of the dispute over whether Jesus was the Messiah, and they wanted to hear Paul's presentation, and he was eager to present it before the arrival of adverse opinions from the Jewish leaders of Jerusalem.
Yeah, so it's not like they didn't know about this sect, as they called it, and what it was about. But yeah, they wanted to hear more from him. Because I have no doubt that Jerusalem probably is sending word to Rome. Just like, Festus is sending word to Rome with him, right? But it's not there yet.
And when they're talking about the sect, are they talking about those who are against Paul, or are they talking about the way?
They're talking about the way. All right.
23. When they had appointed a day for him, they came to him at his lodging in greater numbers. From morning till evening he expounded to them, testifying to the kingdom of God and trying to convince them about Jesus, both from the law of Moses and from the prophets. And some were convinced by what he said, others disbelieved. And disagreeing among themselves, they departed after Paul and made one statement: "The Holy Spirit was right in saying to your fathers through Isaiah the prophet, 'Go to this people and say, you will indeed hear but never understand, and you will indeed see but never perceive. For this people's heart has grown dull, and with their ears they can barely hear, and their eyes they have closed, lest they should see with their eyes and hear with their ears and understand with their heart and turn, and I would heal them. Therefore, let it be known to you that this salvation of God has been sent to the Gentiles. They will listen.' He lived there 2 whole years at his own expense and welcomed all who came to him, proclaiming the kingdom of God and teaching about the Lord Jesus Christ with all boldness and without hindrance.
So is there no right to a speedy trial, or maybe he wasn't looking?
Speedy trial was not a right that was guaranteed.
So was he a prisoner for those 2 years in his cell?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. I like that he tried to convince them from the law of Moses and the prophets. You remember the story of Lazarus and the rich man?
They have Moses
Send back someone from the dead. They will listen to someone from the dead, so that they don't, my brothers don't end up here, for I am in agony in this place. And Father Abraham says they have Moses and the prophets. Let them listen to them. If they don't listen to Moses and the prophets, they will not believe someone even if they are raised from the dead. So, the whole aspect of the Moses and the prophets all point to the Messiah. All point to Jesus. So, there you're going to find it. So that's what he preaches.
And the one raised from the dead, they didn't believe.
Yeah. Yeah.
This whole thing, excuse me, go ahead.
It said they were the brothers, and I thought the brothers were part of the way.
Where are you talking?
Well, when they first came to it, it said they met some brothers there.
Yeah, so those brothers that met him initially, those were a part of the way. There were others that were a part of the Jewish, calling the brothers of the way, and then kind of a bigger circle is the Jews in the area.
So the people that came to him at his lodging.
Those were the Jews in the area that wanted to hear more. Those weren't the ones who already believed.
So his lodging, was it a prison? I mean, he's
No, he was allowed to stay by himself. So I would suspect that either he would stay with other brothers, or he would even rent his own place and still continue to make and sell tents. That was the benefit of this, is you still had to be self-sufficient. Rome isn't paying for you to. They're not giving you 3 squares a day and stuff. You have to still provide. What about this whole thing? After disagreeing among themselves, they departed after Paul and made one statement. Who is they?
The disbelievers, unbelievers.
I don't think it's just the disbelievers, because it says some were convinced and others disbelieved. So it could be both. If it's both, those who believe and those who unbelieve, but they're both quoting the same thing, how would you view the statements? That quote from Isaiah.
Well, he's putting down the Jewish nation, Jewish people. And forgive me, I've often wondered why God picked the Jews to start with.
Well, we could say the same thing. Why did he pick, Germans to be Lutheran,
Well, I mean, throughout the Old Testament history, they time and time again, they wouldn't listen.
I think that's exactly the point. I think that because it's not through obedience, or because we were more numerous than others, we were more desirable than others. God chose the lowly things of the world. God chose the things that, he tells us this in Corinthians. Right? He tells those who are not eloquent, those who are not noble birth. He tells us all these things. God chooses the lowly things because when we realize that we can't do it ourselves, who is the one who is edified? God. God had to do this because we certainly couldn't. But this quote, go to the people and say, you will indeed hear but never understand, you will see but never perceive. I think if it's both groups, those who became believers and those who didn't, if they're both the ones quoting this, then it's interesting how they're interpreting this. Because if you're a believer, who do you quote this about? You will see and never understand. You unbelievers. You see, but you don't understand that this is about Jesus. But if you're not a believer and you're quoting this, you sect people. You people of this way, you're seeing things that aren't there. You're not understanding that the law of Moses is not about this Jesus. So it could be very interesting if that's the case. Yeah.
I'll read verse 25 to say Paul made that statement. It says, after disagreeing, they departed, and Paul made one statement. And then he starts quoting Isaiah.
They departed after Paul had made one statement. Okay, all right. All right, I could see that. So if Paul made this statement, then he's making it about the unbelievers.
Yeah, Paul's declaring it to them, hey, this is the way.
I
This is a
misread
long
that.
time ago.
Okay. Verse 28. Let it be known to you that this salvation of God has been sent to the Gentiles. They will listen. Indications? Because you all aren't. Where we end this is the end of Acts. What do we not get in this story?
I have notes made from a previous study, and I don't know where I got this, but according to these notes, these 2 years that Paul was in Rome were from 60 to 62 AD. After Christ. Okay. He was found innocent in his trial in 62 or 63.
What's the source for that?
Well, my notes.
I'm not sure that's authoritative.
Well, I'm not saying it is, but it's a scenario. And then it was in 64 when Rome burned and Nero really persecuted the Christians.
He blamed the Christians. Yeah. Okay, but I don't know that of a source that tells us what the outcome of Paul's case is. So I'm not sure where that comes from.
I don't know either.
It's from some Bible study that was taught by a Lutheran pastor. Probably.
Yeah, that's right. So it's very.
Well, I'd like to know that source because I don't know what source that is because that is one of the big questions about Acts is we're told again and again I must speak. I appeal to Caesar. I must speak before Caesar, and we're not told that he ever does.
Yeah.
We end with him in Rome, but he never appears to Caesar.
That we know of.
That we know of. That we're told about. So we have to know that he actually did, because we're told again and again, God made it clear that it happened. But we don't have the recordings of it. It's just an interesting thing, which it could be very well be the case. Remember that this is all written down, written by Luke to Theophilus and stuff. That maybe he had a book deadline, and he wrote this that before, and he finished it, and he died before this happened, or whatever the case, he had to wrap up the book before he actually appeared. Whatever the case, that's not recorded. It's a kind of abrupt ending.
I have a note that says there was a legend also that after his acquittal he went to Spain, but was arrested again and killed by Nero during the persecution.
Certainly, I would like to know where that's coming from, because I suspect that's more legend. I haven't looked in Josephus and some of the other historians, but I don't think there's any scriptural evidence of that.
Do you have a verse 29?
Oh, there are some scriptures that have verse 29. What does your 29 say?
Verse 29, I can't find it.
It says, when he had said these words, the Jews departed,
Having a great dispute among themselves. Yeah. So there are a few manuscripts that have that. Those are not the more reliable ones that we see now. But yeah, when it said these words, the Jews departed, having a great dispute among themselves. And it doesn't add anything to the topic.
I think it's interesting that he was living there at his own expense, the hired, or the rented rooms, or whatever he was staying in. And his sources that you would normally think, supplying his funds and so forth that he had enjoyed and, in his travels, are not here, because there are not that many brothers probably to support him, but I guess
Well, yeah, I mean, we don't know how many there were in that. But again, he certainly had a marketable skill,
Yeah.
right? So it would have been fairly easy for him to park anywhere and make a living.
So he could work?
I think he would have been able to work. That certainly seems to be the case that a lot of Romans would have allowed for that. The case that they gave him some rain to live among himself with just one indicates to me that probably was allowed. But I can't say for certain. Anything else on Luke and Acts together, or as it probably should have been named Luke 1 and Luke 2? First Luke and second Luke. Well, it's only been a year and 8 months to get through those. All right, so here's a question. Do you remember let's see, hold that thought. Yeah, Easter egg. Do you remember
what that Greek says in the background? We went over that one time. I give you a hint right on the slide. It's Acts 4:12. That Greek is the Greek for there's no salvation, and there's salvation in no one else, for there is no other name under heaven given among men by which we must be saved. That's that Greek in the background there. Remember that? That was a nice Easter egg I gave you all. It was a while.
All right, well, that concludes.
There is something called the Jesus Walk that talks about what Scott, what Wayne said.
Yeah, that's not Scott.
It's a mother's prerogative.
Thank you. but about
Show a little respect.
the 62 and all of that, so that's probably where some of that came from.
Where?
Jesus Walk.
The Jesus Walk?
That-
Where did the Jesus Walk come from?
It's the name of a group of Christians, I think.
Led Zeppelin is the name of a group. I don't know why I take that one for it.
It's called Jesus Walk Bible Study Series.
Okay. Well, if you have access to that, I'd like to see their source for that. I think that would be interesting.
Type it in on Wikipedia.
All right. Well, then we're going to end a little early today. Let's. Oops. Let's go.
Did Paul write Romans when he didn't write it when he was in?
Well, that's next week.
I know that, but you're supposed to know that.
He wrote a lot of stuff at different times, and I don't remember all of them. But we'll cover next week when he wrote Romans. All right, let's go with the benediction. The Lord bless you and keep you. The Lord make his face shine on you and be gracious to you. The Lord look upon you with favor and give you his peace.
Amen. God bless. Have a good week. Bye-bye.